start this episode by taking one word off the table: lazy. Because if you're listening to this while managing kids, work, relationships, and a body that feels nothing like it used to, laziness isn't the problem. The problem is the story you've been told about why weight loss should still work the same way. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Teresa here with my sister Christina.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And like Teresa talked about, the word lazy, I have a question for you to see if this resonates with any of you, because it certainly resonates with us, which is if I just tried harder, this would work. Does that sound familiar? Have you said it? Have you heard your friends say it? That's what this episode is about today, is about thinking that the problem is that we're just not trying hard enough. And we're going to talk about why it's different now, especially now that you have kids. So we definitely want to validate that you are not alone and that this is a huge feeling and we all have felt this. And we would definitely want to talk about that it's not a personal failure and we want to help you shift it. This is a context shift that we are hoping that
Mhm.
after you finish this episode, you're going to understand and have a relief off your shoulders because you are not lazy. On the contrary, especially being a mom. Am I right, Teresa?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely far from lazy.
yeah,
Far from lazy.
yeah. So there's four themes we're going to get into today. The four are the internalized shame that we all carry around. The second one
Hmm.
is that energy depletion from motherhood. You all know it. You all feel it. It's a struggle. And the third one is why self-compassion matters. And it's so important, especially starting out as being a new mother, or if you have three, four, or five kids, why you've got to be more compassionate to yourself. And then the last one we're going to get into is reframing what failure is.
So starting this off, I think really naming the struggle because I feel like again you have to acknowledge that there is a struggle
Mm-hmm.
because it is struggle. Well, it is hard. It does feel hard, and I think once you finally recognize that it is hard, you kind of give yourself a little bit more compassion and grace. I know once I finally was like, you know what, this it's not like when I was in my 20s before kids. It is hard now. And it was almost like once I gave myself permission to be like it's okay to feel that, a little bit of weight like it almost felt nice to acknowledge that it is
Mm-hmm.
hard.
Right. Yeah. And you always hear people say nothing prepares you for parenthood. And even like a little bit deeper, you really don't know what motherhood is going to be like for you, especially.
Oh my
I
gosh,
remember,
yeah.
I think I felt a little, I don't want to say cocky, but I really felt like I knew I was getting myself into because with mom having raised so many kids, kind of being like a second mom in the house at times, I kind of felt like I knew exactly how it was going to go, but I really was not prepared for how much it was going to change me physically, mentally, and it's just it's like a whole new world. It really is. I know that's probably cliche to say,
Hmm.
but I don't know. It's like you could. I took those even took those classes. I forget what they're called. Like those classes you take ahead of time to talk about things.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's like having a plan and then setting it on fire. Just go on
Yes.
the battlefield. You're just like you know it's nothing really prepares you for it. And
Hmm.
yeah, but then there is a lot of internalized shame because society puts a lot of pressure on women on what
Oh my gosh,
they think
yes.
motherhood is supposed to be. You compare yourself to other people on how you think they are as mothers. Again, maybe
Hmm.
your own mother or other people who are moms that are in your life, thinking like, oh, that's how they do it. That's how I'm going to do it too. Or I think we talked about this. Like, you kind of, I guess it's a little judgmental. You watch other parents like, oh, if I have kids, I'm never doing X, Y, and Z or
Oh
whatever.
yes.
And
You
then
are a perfect parent until you have
until you have
kids.
kids, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of inherent shame associated with it, and you don't you don't know if you like you talked about, like you feel like you're the only person going through it. It seems like everybody else has it figured out, and and then you have like a lot of the internal pressure, like you talked about, like you have all these
Yeah.
expectations before you have a child and how you think you're going to be, and then reality hits, and you're having to pivot, and you're having to pivot sleep deprived, a body that is
Yes.
recovering. If you have the child physically yourself, even if it's like surrogacy or adoption, it still takes a toll on you physically. And then,
Yes.
yeah, you're just mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, and it's just a whole new world.
Yeah, there's so much shame and like society. I know growing up watching a lot of shows and now looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, that has really shaped what we thought weight loss was and how things were supposed to go. And yeah, I totally had this way of like, this is how my life is going to go when I have kids. They're going to listen the first time, and I'm going to eat a certain way, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to maintain it all. And yeah, like you said, it's just gone completely up in flames. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's that, you know it must be me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
the broken one. I'm the one that hasn't figured it out. Yeah, that all of that shame, and then that weight carries around. And I don't and to me it even carries why you can't lose weight, because there's it's like my body is intentionally holding on to that, and then I eat over it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like that vicious cycle where I go and eat over those feelings, those shames and stuff. And so it's that
Yeah.
vicious cycle of like I can't lose weight, and then like my body holds on to it, then I eat and then I gain, and that vicious cycle
Right.
of that harsh talk about yourself and believing
Yeah.
what weight loss should and should not look like.
Well, yeah. And then, right. So there's that expectation from society to lose weight, bounce back. And if they even show people who, or even they show women who can do that, right? And it seems like they're almost
Hmm.
held to this goddess level pedestal. And that it's so what's inferred is like, okay, that's what the expectation is on all of us. And it's so not fair because there's a multitude of reasons why you're not going to be able to lose the weight as quickly. And we kind of talked about last episode, there are some biological reasons as well. So I
Hmm.
remember when just right after you have the baby, if you breastfeed or not, or if you try to
Hmm.
breastfeed, that's a whole new thing on top of everything else, learning the whole breastfeeding cycle, getting your body used to that. I struggled with it, and all of the doctor's appointments, and a lot of all those the doctor's appointments are for the baby, and there's really not a whole lot for you. And I remember when
Hmm.
I did finally go see my doctor, I don't even remember how far after it was. And I had gained about, gosh, between 60 and 80 pounds. And I was talking to her about losing the weight. And at that point, at that time, I was I was maybe a year out from having done my fitness competition. And so I was hell bent. Oh, I'm losing this weight. I'm getting this weight off. I'm going to
Hmm.
go right back to it. I want to do another fitness competition in another year or so. And I remember the doctor saying that on average, it takes women 5 years to lose the baby weight. And I almost like fell back. I was like, what? I was like, oh, that's not going to be me. I am not going to be the average 5 year. Like, this is coming off now. And I really set myself up for failure. I thought I was doing the right thing, uh, but I didn't even give myself a chance. I didn't even know what I was working with. Like literally, like
Yeah.
I hadn't even given my body a chance to like settle out. It was still recovering and all these things. I'm already like trying to think of all this weight I'm going to lose. And a lot of that comes from the societal pressure of that you're not
Yeah.
allowed, like, okay, lazy, like get
Right.
cracking. get cracking, man.
Yeah.
On top of all the things you're trying to figure out, you're also supposed to lose this weight. Losing weight's hard anyways. Trying to lose weight,
Yeah.
being a new parent or a parent with multiple
Hmm.
children, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. The comments that are made of like basically how fast can you get back into your pre-pregnancy clothes, which was astounding to me.
Yeah.
Of how many people asked me like a week after giving birth. They're like, "Oh, can you fit in your pre-pregnant clothes?" And I was just like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the pressure of like to literally go from 9+ months of pregnancy to
Mm-hmm.
like within a week, you're supposed to look like you've never had a baby, which
Right.
is just, you know, and then that pressure of, yeah, you're a new mom, sleep deprivation, you literally have a wound, or if you had a C-section, I mean, that's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure.
Right.
Yeah, your milk is coming in, you're trying to figure out breastfeeding. Even if you don't breastfeed, there's an emotional thing about feeding your baby. And so then
Mm-hmm.
there's that pressure. Some people, their milk comes in right away, some
Yeah.
people's don't. You're formula feeding and all of that. There's just so much. And then yeah, then the pressure of being like, I gotta bounce back right away.
And that's all assuming the pregnancy goes well. That is
Yeah,
assuming there are no issues, no complications. Women have traumatic births. Uh,
yeah,
things can go wrong with the mom, the baby, both. So that's not even, yeah, we're not even getting into like all these other things that women go through the pregnancy itself. So a
right.
lot of things going on right initially, and so uh, yeah, so like you're talking about, Teresa, the pressure of trying to lose the weight, it is so insulting. I know people don't mean it to be insulting, because again, they're part of society and they're also told by society that women should lose weight. So that's kind of a natural question for them to think of, because it's always so highlighted. People don't really talk about
Hmm.
the true deeper things that women go through. And so it's just you get this pressure from people even when it's unintentional. And it
Yeah,
leads to a lot of that internal shame and that pressure. And on top of everything else you're going through, like you talked about, now you have to feel like you're, oh yeah, I'm losing the weight. Because like that's so important, right? Like that's the most important thing right
right.
there. Nothing else to
Not
make a
how are
priority.
you doing mentally? How are you doing
Yeah,
sleep wise? Like how can we help you? Like I feel like that is not there
yeah,
for women,
yeah,
but it's all about, yeah, because I feel like, right, all the baby checkups, it was about the baby. There wasn't really much about for the mom, the mentally, and like, do you have a support system?
yeah,
There's really not aftercare for mom. It's all, and yes, there's obviously aftercare for baby, but yeah, there's really not much in place for mom.
right.
And so, yeah, I think, yeah, you have to realize that you're taking on so much. So that laziness, you just need to throw that word away
Yeah,
and realize how much you're really taking on
right.
having kids and how different your energy is going other places, and
Mm-hmm.
rightfully so, to your new young one, and figuring out your new role of what motherhood looks like.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And then, so yeah, a note I have here is, so a lot of women feel shame, um,
Hmm.
external shame from others, as well as internal shame. And so let's talk about why shame doesn't work as a motivator. So shame, when you shame yourself, when you have that negative talk in your, inside about yourself, you think like, well, that should like motivate me, kind of like a boot camp drill instructor, like shaming you into to motivating you to do it. It actually doesn't work that way, because it actually creates more stress inside your body. It actually causes
Hmm.
you to produce more stress hormones. So that shame is actually working against you. It is making you feel worse about yourself, and making you feel worse about yourself is not going to help you get to the spot you want to be. So you need to
Hmm.
recognize how harmful that shame is for you. And so a lot of people are like, well, I have to be hard on myself or else I'm not going to do the work. I used to be like that. I did not know there is a life, you can live a life of success without coming down hard on yourself. I honestly, somebody told me, what's like, you're so hard on yourself. And I was speechless. I'm like, well, how else am I going to succeed? How else am I going to do anything? I don't, wow. Yeah, no, that was me. So maybe some of you recognize that too. So if that's you, you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
how else do I get stuff done if I'm not beating myself up? There is another way. There's a kinder way. And it turns out it's pretty great. so so recognize, so like Teresa said, get that word lazy out of your head completely, set that on fire. And
Yes.
then the other thing you need to get rid of is the shame. Recognize that
Um,
shame, recognize recognize that you have the shame, that you feel the shame, and recognize that you don't need that to be successful. And it's not certainly going to help you get to a better place for sure. I was just going to say, you
oh,
want to talk about some of the signs that shame is running the show for people? Like, how do I even know I am actually feeling shame? You know what I mean?
yeah, I feel like for me, it's saying the shoulds.
Mm,
I should
yeah.
be further along. I should know better. Looking like when I really felt the shame was, yeah, the comparison of other women
Mm-hmm.
who seem to you know, lose the weight, they're doing all these things, and yeah, comparing myself to other people, and then just looking at myself and not realizing how amazing my body was to make these beautiful babies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I truly hated my body, and which is now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I made three incredible, amazing kids.
Yeah.
How can I sit there and say I hate my body?
Right.
How can I say that when it's allowed me to have three beautiful kids and breastfeed three kids. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
going strong
Yeah.
on 6 years of breastfeeding. Like, yeah, to so I feel like that's the shame of like, or and like I used to like cover my body. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even want to ever look at myself naked
Yeah.
because I was just like, oh, I hate myself. I hate myself. So I feel like if you're constantly like, I would like summertime, I would dread summertime because I would always want to cover my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, if you're constantly just hating your body and feeling that, that's just how I felt, in my shame.
Yeah. No, those are great ways to recognize shame. That shame that you're experiencing, for sure. So yeah, the negative self talk, the comparison that you talked about,
Hmm.
the and those things, they lead to burnout. You again, like you think like, oh, that's a way I motivate myself, but really it just burns you out.
Hmm.
It's like having a toxic friend. Who wants that toxic friend around, giving like being super negative around you? Like
Yeah.
that's how you're treating yourself, and nobody wants to be around somebody who's super negative, right? It just brings you down. So then why are we
Yeah.
doing that to ourselves? Like it's the same thing. It's that same, it affects you the same way, that energetically, right?
Hmm.
It's going to burn you out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so recognizing the self-talk, and again, but it's important to not do what Tracy and I've talked about before, like that double judgment. You're like, oh my God, I'm so bad. I'm so mean to myself. I suck. So then you're like judging yourself for judging yourself. Anyway,
Yeah.
so don't get in that vicious cycle either. So just be gracious, but oh yeah, I feel a lot of shame. I feel a lot of pressure, and just observe it. Just acknowledge that it's there. You don't have to harshly judge yourself for feeling the shame or feeling the comparison, or that negative talk, because it's a lot
Hmm.
and it's normal and it's human. So it's just sit with it, like, oh yeah, I I am being really hard on myself. And so starting there is really important to be able to start moving forward in a more healing way uh, as you are
Hmm.
in this new role, motherhood. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that goes into yeah, yeah, self-compassion,
Mm-hmm.
learning that self-compassion, and where like self-compassion is not letting yourself off the hook, where you
Right.
can still like you said, you can still push yourself without being that nasty drill sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
You can still, instead of being like, well, I have to work out and that's the only way I can lose weight, instead of being like, well, I want to move my body because it makes me feel great. And then that takes almost like the pressure off, and you're doing something that you love, which is more sustainable. So you're going to continue to do things that you love. Um, yeah, just finding that more compassion, doing things that are more kind to yourself, and being the best friend, talking to how you would talk to your kids. Like if you would you say that to your children? The nasty
Mm-hmm.
things, like then you
Yeah.
shouldn't be, if you talk to yourself like you would your kids.
Right.
And I've started doing that as well, as like I would start degrading myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I heard somebody saying that to my daughter?
Mm-hmm.
That is, that is
Right.
not how I want somebody to ever talk to my kids.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't be saying that to myself either.
Right.
And so just giving myself a lot more compassion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I used to think being negative to myself, well, that doesn't hurt anybody. Like, I'm not saying it to anybody else, I'm just saying
Hmm.
it to myself. I really did not understand how harmful it really is for yourself internally because, like, well, I'm not hurting anybody, but I really was hurting myself. And
Yeah.
it really was very hard until recently to really truly understand that the way you talk to yourself really does matter. And e- everything's energy, our thoughts are energy as well. So if you believe that, then you have to believe that negative energy affects you just as much as if someone else was saying something negative to you. So
Hmm.
if you're one of those people who's kind of like me, like, oh well, yeah, it's just to myself, uh, it also means you're really not valuing yourself. You've got to value yourself. You've
Hmm.
got to say that you're worth more than that, even to yourself, even if it's just your own voice. So so with that though, getting back to the word lazy, and again why moms in particular need to stop looking at themselves as lazy is, let's talk about the load that mothers carry now. So
Hmm.
you go from maybe a single person or you're a spouse or a significant other, and now you have a child or multiple children. So let's talk about what that load is on a mother.
Hmm. Yeah, so I feel like the load on moms is, again, you go from kind of carefree, going from like, oh, I can leave the house kind of whenever, but
Mm-hmm.
now like all those little loads that we don't necessarily think about, is now we have to think about the diaper bag, what's in the diaper bag, um, leaving the house, potty, going to the bathroom, like all these little things that
Mm-hmm.
we on a day to day, that it's just become so natural that we don't necessarily think, but it's all those mental loads that carry a lot. Like we
Mm-hmm.
have to think about all the little things.
Right.
And
Do you remember how long it took you to get out of the house the first time you ever tried to leave the house once you had Olivia?
oh my gosh, I think forever,
Yeah.
because it was they we would get everything ready, and of course as a first time mom you're like,
Mm-hmm.
we have to pack
Overpack.
everything. Yeah, you
Right.
overpack because you're just like, oh my gosh, I have to have all
Yeah.
the things. But then every single time we're walking, like literally walking out the door, and then I would smell something, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
Or they get
and of
hungry. Yeah.
course, it would be a blowout. Of
Right.
course, like of course.
Yeah.
So like I feel like the first few times trying to leave the house, it would be like 45 minutes to an hour,
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, do I have this? Do I have this? And then yeah, and then even now my kids are slightly older. I It still takes me about 30, sometimes 45 minutes to leave the house. I'll get them in the
Mm-hmm.
car, but then they forgot something. Like
Yeah.
we're back and forth. Oh, got them in the car. Oh, I got to go potty. Okay, get them back in the house.
Yeah.
Like we're so back and forth. I'm looking now that it's cold. I've got to have hats and coats
Ugh.
and
And gloves.
blankets
Like, where does your
and
gloves
gloves
go?
and scarves. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, I think the other day I counted that I came in and out of the house 15
Oh
times
my,
in less than 10 minutes
oh
because
my
I was back and forth,
gosh.
back and forth, back and forth,
Wow.
back and forth. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, you don't realize how much of just that is so draining
It's so
of
exhausting.
my
Yeah.
mental load.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. The first
yeah,
time it took us to get out of the house, it took us about 2.5 hours. And I just remember kind of standing there, but I don't know, like that camera effect. We just like you real like the camera like zooms in on you, and you're like, oh my god, like
yeah.
I will. I can't believe all the times I took for granted just being able to walk out of my house,
I got the
just
door.
walk out the
Yeah,
door. It's like suddenly that threshold is like 10 miles long.
yes.
So yeah, so the point of all that we're saying is the mental load that is put on parents, and in particular
Hmm.
the moms. The depending on your spouse or whoever, they can certainly help out a lot, but a lot of these things really, it's just kind of like in our DNA. It's kind of in our makeup, where we tend to be thinking of these things like that, like Rolodex of like tasks and
Yep.
everything. What's what makes women incredible, because we
Yeah.
have such a huge capability of thinking of all these things simultaneously. But it does come
Hmm.
at an energy cost, and it does drain us. So
Hmm.
when you think you feel lazy, like, oh, I should be able to get up. I used to be able to get up at 5 in the morning and work out every day. And now it takes, I can't get out of that. I can't even think about getting out of bed till 7 or whatever. It's because there are so many more things that are being put on you mentally.
Hmm.
Not even talking about like physically, if you're breastfeeding and the sleep deprivation. We talk about, everybody knows how important sleep is. And if you don't know, you should know how important sleep
Yeah.
is. And especially as a new parent, bye bye. Bye bye, sleep.
Yeah.
See
Mostly.
ya. It's good to know ya. I hope to see you again one day.
Yeah. Like sleep deprivation is so real. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah.
It is so brutal. So yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they use it as a part of a torture,
Torture, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
thing.
Because the irony
Because
is, like, you want
it's
your kid to sleep, but then when they're sleeping too much, you wake up and check on them, like make sure everything's okay. You're
yes.
just constantly waking up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had a unicorn moment, I think last week where all three kids slept through the night. But every 15 minutes, I was hearing phantom cries. I would wake up
Oh,
and
the
I'm like,
Phantom Christ. Yep.
oh, okay, everybody's asleep, everybody's asleep, everybody's okay, okay. And then like I would wake up and I'm like, this is weird. And then I'm like, my kids are alive, right? So like I'm having to get up and check on them, make sure they're okay. Because
Hmm.
it's so real, like my body was so used to like, oh, and so when they were sleeping, I was like, wow, what's
Yeah,
happening?
your body's
Like, and
still.
I'm like, I
Hmm.
still didn't get any sleep because I was so worried about them.
And then on top of the lack of sleep, the mental load, it's rewiring the brain a little bit, and it
Yes.
does take time. It does take work, especially if you're someone similar to me, where even before I had kids, I was really hard on myself. I was really negative.
Oh
Had a
yeah.
lot of negative talk. So I had really ingrained habits. I had memorized how to treat myself poorly. So it's not like having a baby is going to erase that. So it does take practice.
Hmm.
So it helps to reframe, like, common questions like, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? You can reframe that to, what do I need right now? What do I need for myself right
Hmm.
now? Just changing how you're approaching the question in itself
Hmm.
can help you feel a little more compassionate to yourself.
Yeah, I think that it to me it's really powerful of asking, what do I need right now?
Hmm.
Because a lot of times we are on the back burner. Everybody else is kind of like the main focus.
Hmm.
And half the time I'm like, I don't even know what I need.
Yeah.
So, like, Jason would be like, how can I help you? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. And so now that I've started to ask myself, like, well, what do I need? A lot of it is just like, I need just even like 3 minutes without somebody. A lot of it, I'm touched all the time,
Right.
all the time. And then like there's toys everywhere, and I'm just like, I feel blah. So I'm
Hmm.
like for me, I'm like, hey, I just need 3 minutes just to breathe,
Yeah, like decompress a little bit. Yeah.
decompress. And yeah, a lot of times I'm like, I need to breathe. I realize I hold my breath a lot. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I remember I used to tell mom all the time, like, mom, you're not breathing, breathe,
Hmm.
and now as a mom, I totally get it that you're just so caught up
Yeah.
in trying to do all the things that she would be holding her breath. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I realize that I do that. I hold my breath and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm barely breathing. And I need
Hmm.
to take just a few seconds just to breathe. So yeah, asking what you need is such a kind, loving way to like get back in tune with yourself
Yeah.
without judging.
Right. Yeah, and I want to recognize that that's for some that might actually not be so easy to answer, especially if you're someone that prides themselves on being independent. If you are
Hmm.
someone who, like, I'll just take care of it myself. If you have the mindset of the only way for the only way to get make sure it gets done right is if I do it myself, sort of thing. So it can be really hard for people to actually answer that, especially if you kind of come from that kind of mentality. And that's where I was coming from. So it was not easy for me to actually answer that because they would ask me like, "What do you need right now?" Like I have no idea because I was so used to being able to do everything by
Yeah.
myself, and now having when I had the kids, it pushed me beyond what my abilities were, and it was hard. I didn't like having to rely on other people. I had a hard time trusting other
Hmm.
people. And then of course on top of it we were away from family, and so we really worked
Hmm.
on our own. We had just moved, I know you can relate a lot to this, that we didn't have a lot of established trusted relationships where we had moved to. And so a lot of it I felt like I had to do on my own. So it was more of a I have to push through, I have to power through, because in our family we really do pride powering through, pushing through, being tough, being strong, and it certainly can help. But there are some times you have to recognize how that hinders. And it took me a long time to finally start recognizing what I did truly need. So I just want to validate people who struggle
Hmm.
with that, is that it is tough. And again, there's no shame. Just recognize that that's where you are, that you do have a hard time asking for help, and start there. And like Therese, like you said, it sometimes it doesn't have to be something huge. It doesn't have to be like you don't have to let a stranger into your house to watch your kid. Maybe it is as simple as if you have a spouse or someone who can just take the kids so you have those 3 minutes to go breathe. Just start small and gently with yourself. Yeah, but I just want
Hmm.
to point out that that was a struggle I had, was even just to figure out what I needed was actually really hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said that because I struggled with that too. I struggled really hard with if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to do it all, or I'm weak if I ask for help.
Yeah.
That was very hard for me. And letting Jason kind of help clean because then I'd be like, he's not doing it the way I want it done.
Yeah.
But then my life coach was like, is the world gonna end? Like he would
Mm-hmm.
load the dishwasher and I'd be like, that's not the way I want it. But she's like, are the dishes getting clean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can like slowly again, it was very slow and she challenged the way and it yeah. And again it took some time. But yeah, so I'm really glad that you brought that up because yeah, sometimes we do feel like if it's we have to do it because we're
Yeah.
gonna do it right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we need to kind of question that. Well, is the world is it really worth being so like fatigued over?
Yeah,
Or
right.
like is it worth kind of letting go and being like, it's gonna get done and it's
Yeah,
okay, you
right.
know, the
Yeah,
world is not going to
exactly.
end.
Yeah, well, and that kind of goes into the next one we want to talk about, which is redefining failure. So I do want to say real quick,
Yes.
the segue is if you do look at asking for help or needing other people as failure, uh, there is certainly allow yourself time, room to explore that as well, and seeing where you have those little openings of letting others in to help you. And it's not easy, especially depending on where you are, what support system you
Hmm.
have or don't have. But just acknowledging that if you feel like asking for help is a failure, then there's already so much pressure on you. Then to feel like you have to do it on your own or else you're failing, it's just like it's not even a double burden. It's just like a quadruple burden on you on top of all the other pressure we already have to be moms.
Hmm.
So sit with that, kind of ask yourself like why, what determined that that's what that was, and kind of explore that a little bit too. But then going into also what we talk about, like what does failure look like, uh, is so important to say as far as looking at like your recovery and losing weight and getting back into shape or whatever you want to call it. However you define failure before with whatever your health goals were, you need to challenge that because you are not the same person. You don't have the same body as you
Hmm.
were before. So you've really got to look at that and what is failure really. So some of the
Right.
suggestions like we talked about that you need to recognize as um, progress is like, how are you feeling? How are you treating yourself? We talked about compassion. Are you being compassionate to yourself? And let those
Hmm.
be marks of success, right? You know, it's so easy to jump on a scale to say, oh, I haven't lost any weight, or oh my God, I've gained weight, I'm failing.
Hmm.
Question why that even should be relevant right now. So you need to look at other things to measure your success. Like, are you asking for
Yes.
help? Are you eating at all? Like, let's just start there.
Just there, yeah.
Like,
Eating and drinking
just
water. Like,
anything. Yeah. Are you drinking any water? Like, you've really got to start back at the basics again. So
yeah.
many women think that we can just carry forward all these things we used to be able to do. And again, maybe some people can, but to, to compare yourself to that is really kind of setting yourself up for, for more harm, I
Hmm.
think. Yeah, in my opinion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think really questioning what failure really is.
Yeah.
Like, are you really failing? You know, are your do you have a happy and healthy home? Are your kids fed and loved and all of that? Like, yeah, what are you actually failing? Sometimes we feel like we're failing, but in reality, we're actually not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just all of this pressure that we're putting our on ourselves that we don't really need to be putting on ourselves, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then,
Yeah.
questions to ask yourself, to replace with instead of saying like, why can't I do this? You need to ask yourself, well, what has changed? What are the big changes that have happened in my life? What support is
Hmm.
missing? Like, what else do I need? Because suddenly
Yeah.
we cannot do everything the exact same way we were doing it before. So what new support do you need? That was something that I struggled with, and because again, I feel like I had to do it all on my own. It's like what support did I actually need? Where did I need that support? And even if you don't
Hmm.
have the answer to it, because sometimes I think we're scared. It's like, well, if I actually admit I need help, but what if there's no one to help me? Like that's kind of scary. So, but you can't ask for it if you don't even know it's what you need. So even if
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have that support system available right away, being aware that that's something that you need. Uh, this might sound kind of woo woo to some people, but I feel like the universe is always listening. And if you, once you acknowledge like the areas where you do need help and improvement, suddenly things can start kind of happening. And then you can kind of start looking for it. Maybe there are a few people you can start talking to about it. Maybe they know somebody. So it all starts with recognizing where your needs are at and not being scared that you have them, and not be scared that you might not get it right away. And that's where that
Hmm.
self love comes into place. That like, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to give up on myself. I might not get the answer today, but this is something I recognize that it's important to me, that I need, and I'm going to kind of keep putting it out there until I find the right people that can help me.
No, yeah, I love that because yeah, once you know what you need, then yeah, you can start looking for it.
Yeah,
But if you can't really do that if you're not asking those questions.
yeah,
And so yeah, another one is like, what expectations are outdated.
mm,
Like there's so many things now that are so outdated that we how we thought of the weight loss and great lifestyles and stuff. And that's so outdated now. And so, yeah, how we used to think, maybe we need to be like, maybe I challenge that a little bit of like,
mm-hmm,
are those outdated? And yeah, redefining what your success looks like of, how is your energy? Are your habits sustainable? Are you trusting your body again? Are you doing things that you love? Um, how are your moods? Like, I used to be so grumpy all the time because I
mm,
was so focused on the scale and trying to be so perfect. And then once I started kind of letting go, I feel so much more freer and happier,
yeah,
and I smile a lot more, and it's like I can handle a lot more
mm-hmm,
because a lot of this stress I've let go. I've let it go, and just I'm like, that doesn't,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
I don't need that in my life anymore. So I've let it go. Yeah.
yeah. And that in itself should be a mark of success, right? Like
Yeah.
your energy level, trusting your body again, your like how are you progressing with your energy level, and like those are the things that you need to look at instead of just looking at the scale. Because all these little things, it doesn't seem like they're gonna help. Like, well, yeah,
Hmm.
that sounds great, but I'm sick of feeling heavy. I'm sick of being heavy or big or whatever. Like all these little things, they will slowly start adding up over time, and that's all actually going to help get you to that long term goal of getting, getting back. I don't want to say get back into shape, but get like finding the new you, and
Hmm.
trying to do it like you said, like the old mindset of punishing yourself, depriving yourself, pushing through, powering through. That is going to burn you out, and it's not.
Hmm.
And even if you do muscle through it and lose the weight, it's kind of like at what cost, what expense, and are you fully who you're happy to be? Because a lot of times we
Yeah.
just focus on the scale, but we don't do any of this other work, and so it's not sustainable. Then we kind of fall back on
Hmm.
our old habits because we haven't actually built that new foundation, that new mindset, the new markers of success. So definitely consider that as well. If you're tempted to just power through, you can do that, but it's not going to necessarily be the long term success that you're actually wanting.
Yeah, because yeah, a lot of times, like, yeah, like you said, you can power through and punch your way through, but a lot of the times once you get there, you don't feel fulfilled. You don't usually, you still have all that inner hatred for yourself,
Yeah.
and it's, yeah, like you said, at what cost? And then
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, you end up going right back. And that's why a lot of people end up gaining their weight back
Right.
because it's not sustainable.
Right. They haven't really built the true new pathways. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say in summary, circling back around to that you're not lazy. What you're
Yeah.
doing is your body is actually responding to a new workload. Right? So this is its response to this new load that it's taking on. And so be patient with yourself, be compassionate, like we talked about, and recognizing that it does take work, and sometimes the work might not be physical work. It's going to be some of that mental work on ourselves, that's some of that internal
Hmm.
dialogue to make sure we're being more kind to ourselves. So yeah,
Yeah.
what they say, curiosity over judgment. Just put on your curiosity cap and look at things, and just look at it from like a scientific perspective. Like, oh, that's interesting, and then I'll just observe it.
Yeah, definitely getting rid of that, taking that word lazy and just setting
Right.
it on fire, getting rid of it, get it out of your vocabulary because, yeah, you are not lazy.
Exactly. You're not lazy. You're just doing a lot more work, and it just is
Yes.
hard to realize because there's just so much to do. So, and then yeah, we encourage you to find the support you need because they do say it takes a village, but not under village is the same. So find what your village is, find out what your support is, and it starts with recognizing where you need help and then moving forward.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Now go hit that follow button and please, please, please leave a review. We want to hear from you. Go back now and listen to how we finally moved on from the scale and what worked. We know you'll get so much out of that episode. Strong women,
Strong village,
no sugar.
all love.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Bye, sis. Love ya. Bye.
Love ya.